All right, so we're not done talking about the Switch Online expansion pack. Not quite yet, anyways. There's some rumors as to why Nintendo is charging more than double for what the original Switch Online membership cost. And I find this fairly believable. There's a very specific reason that's being talked about out there. Now, yes, of course, I'm still going to be doing a video looking at what's included as far as the Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis games, see how they play and feel, all that, like how the emulation is, that kind of thing, testing out the brand new controllers. I know the prices were donks. I mean, I don't think anybody's really arguing that the price is not ridiculous. I mean, I've seen a couple outliers that are like, you cheap bastards. Well, that's not the point. I've said it before. You can afford it or not afford it. It's not necessarily about being cheap. It's about the value, what you deem as valuable for your hard-earned money, regardless of how much money you have. I mean, it could be a drop in the bucket. Doesn't matter. If it just doesn't seem valuable to you, it seems way too high, then yeah, people are going to have something to say about it. It's just the way it works. But according to some rumors out there, the reason the price more than doubled is because of Sega. What? You might be saying, what? Why? What does Sega have to do with this? Well, obviously, Sega Genesis games are included here. And from some of the rumors that I have been reading, and it seems that a lot of this stuff originates from somebody specifically who's been a reliable source in the past as far as Nintendo rumors and information. Somebody by the name of Emily Rogers is what I have seen out there bringing this stuff up recently. That they stated that Sega was kind of upset with Nintendo. That they were upset that way back in the Nintendo Wii era with the virtual console, aren't we all kind of upset that we don't have an actual virtual console? I mean, upset is kind of winging it. I don't really get upset about video games. I just talk about things that are interesting to me. I don't lose sleep over any of this stuff. Don't think otherwise. But yeah, it was disappointing, to say the least, that there is no real virtual console supported by Nintendo where we could buy individual games. But supposedly, Sega was a little upset about how that whole deal worked out with them, how the sales for their games were really low, and Nintendo really didn't make a push on that kind of stuff. And Nintendo, like, they required a very large revenue split on any of those games that were sold online through the virtual console. And just Sega didn't see much money out of it and was like, this is kind of horseshit. So in the end, with the Switch expansion pack, was it Sega that sought out, like, hey, we want to put our games on your service? Or was it Nintendo like, hey, Sega, we want to work with you and offer your games and, you know, give you a little cut type of thing? And supposedly, because of the past dealings that Sega had, and like I said, this is all rumor, I think there may be some truth to it, though, because it does make sense. You're having to license stuff from another company, a whole, like, library of stuff, with more games coming in the future that were on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive that are even from, like, third parties, not just Sega. So there's going to be a lot of licensing stuff going on here. I mean, Nintendo's had to deal with that for a while now. I mean, not every game they put up on their online service is 100% owned by them. There's going to be games here and there that, you know, need to have licensing deals worked out. But supposedly Sega was like, you know what? We wouldn't mind our games being on there, but we need a bigger cut this time, mofos. And that is the reason why the Switch Online expansion pack has more than doubled, because Sega wanted more money. Does that make sense? It does, in the sense that, of course, Sega's going to want to get paid, and they deserve to get paid, for sure. But in the end, I mean, who's putting all the work behind it? And I'm not defending, like, Nintendo. Don't get it twisted. But who's putting the work? Like, is Sega putting these out there, like developing it for the Nintendo Switch expansion pack? Obviously, these are old games that have already been created, but I mean, as far as the emulation side of it, you know, putting the online connectivity with it, I mean, that seems like it's most likely Nintendo. So of course, they're gonna have, you know, like, hey, well, this is how much we could spare to you guys, type of thing. Like, this is our service. This is the services that we're providing with your games that are going to be included. We're going to manage everything, but to license the stuff, we'll give you a cut. So no matter what, obviously the, you know, third party's going to require some money for this stuff. They're not just going to give up their games for free. I mean, I wouldn't, right? If you want to put somebody's content on a service like this. But it makes sense in that Nintendo's greedy. Every business is greedy. They're about making money, but making money is one thing. Treating the consumer with respect and your partners with respect is another. And if Nintendo wasn't willing to budge as far as the profits that they take in, I'm sure they fought with Sega on this and then just was like, oh, I guess we're just going to have to charge more to give Sega what they want because we don't want to dip into our profits. We want to make as much as we can, make as much as possible, right? Like, it just makes sense. That's the way Nintendo is. That you see it with the sales of their games. Very rarely do they have decent sales in games. Like, where's the greatest hits for Nintendo Switch games? The player's choice type stuff. $20 first-party games that were like million sellers type of thing. Nintendo's not doing that right now. Maybe years down the line they will, but right now they're going to tap as much as they can out of every release that they put out, as long as the sales remain consistent or as long as they continually see a trend of people buying consoles and wanting to buy those first-party Nintendo games. It's all about profits. And yeah, of course, if you own the business yourself, you're going to want to be profitable. But you're going to have a lot of pushback if you're doing things like this, where a service is being charged more than double and the value's not really like all in your face for a lot of people. I'm still looking at it like, man, like this doesn't really make sense. Like, I want this. I want what they're offering for many reasons, and I've talked about this in the past, but I want what they're offering, but I don't think the price is right. Now, as I stated in my other video recently, if they put a roadmap out as far as like, these are the, like, we're going to have so many releases come out to the service, these editions, these DLC packs, these like special games, even if they had to keep certain things secret, just gave a release schedule so you could see what kind of value your membership's going to get. That could ease some of the pain for some people, not everyone, but if it was clear what you were going to get out of paying this, because right now, the only thing that's clear is that you're getting a handful of Sega Genesis games, a handful of Nintendo 64 games, and a DLC for Animal Crossing. Well, it's like a standalone DLC, but you know what I'm saying. Like, that's the only thing that's clear right now, but it has been made clear that there's going to be additions. We just don't know when, we don't know how many, we don't know how often, type of thing. And I think if that was a little more clear, and the price was right, it would help a lot of people. I mean, could you imagine if this service was announced like, hey, we're starting off with Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis. Every month we're going to add so many games, and we have plans mid next year maybe. Neo Geo is going to be added online. You're going to be able to play Neo Geo games online. We're going to add all these classic consoles, a new virtual console with tons of different stuff. But yeah, it's a membership thing. Still wish we could buy these games ourselves and actually keep them if we didn't have the service, because years down the road, when Switch Online service is no longer a thing, you're losing out on all this stuff. Like, you invested this membership and you don't get nothing out of it once it's done. I wish we could still buy all this stuff individually or as packages, but yeah, could you imagine them adding other systems down the road? Neo Geo, like, some other Nintendo stuff, maybe Sega Saturn. We see Sega Saturn can be emulated fairly well on the Switch. I mean, there's so many other systems that could be added to this service or the Switch in general with online gaming for those games that support multiplayer, that I think the value could be there if a game plan was put out, a roadmap, and it just made sense. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Does it sound feasible that it's Sega's fault? I really, even if it was true, I don't blame Sega though. I blame Nintendo for not working a deal out. To me, it just seems like Nintendo wants to not budge on the profits that they expected to pull in. And okay, Sega's not gonna negotiate. They just want what they want. We're gonna have to give it to them, so we're just gonna increase the price even more. That seems fairly likely, man. Let me know what you guys think down below. Really do appreciate every single one of you guys. And with that said, we'll catch y'all next time. Peace out. Bye.